The Empire waged war on humanity, and got the most absurd response ever. Part 1, The Declaration. Admiral Smith stared at the holographic message floating above his desk with a mixture of disbelief and amusement. The alien transmission, received just hours ago, contained what appeared to be a formal declaration of war against Earth and all human colonies. But it wasn't the declaration itself that made him shake his head, it was the reasoning behind it. "They're declaring war on us because we're too noisy," he muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. The Galactic Empire, a coalition of 17 advanced alien species, had apparently been monitoring Earth's communications for the past century. Their primary complaint? Humanity's constant broadcasting of what they termed cultural pollution into space, radio signals, television shows, music, and most offensive of all, memes. The massive viewscreen in his office showed the current state of Earth's defenses. Hundreds of satellites, space stations, and defensive platforms orbited the planet like a protective web. The combined fleet of Earth's nations, though impressive by human standards, would be little more than an inconvenience to the Empire's vast armada. But as Smith read through the declaration again, a slow smile spread across his face. The Empire had made one crucial mistake: they had fundamentally misunderstood human nature. "Get me the United Earth Council," he ordered his AI assistant. "And contact the Department of Psychological Warfare. I think I know exactly how we should respond to this." Within hours, the council chamber was filled with military leaders, politicians, and surprisingly, a group of social media influencers, content creators, and marketing executives. The plan Smith proposed was so absurd, so uniquely human, that it took several minutes for the laughter to die down after he presented it. "Let me get this straight," Council President Torres said, wiping tears from her eyes. "Instead of preparing for conventional warfare, you want us to launch the largest spam campaign in human history?" Smith nodded, his expression serious despite the ridiculousness of the suggestion. "The Empire wants to wage war because our culture annoys them? Then let's show them what humanity is truly capable of when we actually try to be annoying." The plan was simple yet brilliant in its audacity. If the Empire thought Earth's regular broadcasts were cultural pollution, they hadn't seen anything yet. The humans would weaponize what they did best, creating and spreading viral content across every possible communication channel. As the meeting concluded, humanity's most unusual military operation began to take shape. Codenamed Operation Rickroll, it would prove to be either the most embarrassing moment in human history or their greatest triumph. The first phase would begin tomorrow. Every transmission-capable device on Earth would be coordinated to blast the Empire's communication channels with humanity's finest collection of cat videos, dad jokes, and intentionally terrible pop music remixes. Smith looked out his office window at the night sky, wondering how the Empire would react to humanity's response. They had expected fear, panic, or desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, they were about to receive the largest collection of spam mail in galactic history. "Send out the preparation orders," he told his AI assistant. "And make sure to include that GIF of the dancing baby. The original one from the 1990s. Let's start this war with a proper vintage meme." As the orders went out, Smith couldn't help but chuckle. The Empire had no idea what they had just started. They thought they were declaring war on a primitive species. Instead, they were about to face humanity's most powerful weapon, its ability to be absolutely, undeniably, and intentionally annoying when properly motivated. The Empire waged war on humanity, and got the most absurd response ever. Part 2, The Response. The Empire's high command vessel, Eternal Glory, hung in deep space, its massive form dwarfing the surrounding scout ships. Inside the command center, General Reed of the Imperial Forces was experiencing something entirely new: confusion. "What do you mean their response doesn't make sense?" he demanded, his translator struggling to convey his mounting frustration. "They're facing annihilation. They should be begging for mercy." The communications officer, a tall being with crystalline features, gestured at the incoming transmission feeds. "Sir, they're flooding every channel with what appears to be intentionally provocative content. Our AI translators are working overtime trying to understand the context of something called a rickroll." On the massive view screen, thousands of different transmissions played simultaneously. Cats knocking objects off tables, humans dancing to synchronized music, something called dad jokes that made absolutely no sense to alien minds, and endless loops of humans singing, "Never gonna give you up." "Shut it off," Reed ordered, but it was too late. The ship's AI had already downloaded and begun analyzing the data packets. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge began playing different Earth memes. The ship's speakers alternated between Baby Shark and Gangnam Style. In the corner, a junior officer was trying desperately not to laugh at something called a Vine compilation. Reed slammed his fist on the command console. "This is exactly why we declared war. Their cultural contamination must be stopped." He paused as his personal device started playing something called Nyan Cat on repeat. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Smith sat in the newly established Meme Warfare Command Center. Walls of screens showed the progress of their digital assault. Teams of internet veterans, social media experts, and professional trolls worked tirelessly, coordinating the largest shitposting campaign in human history. "Sir," a young lieutenant reported, trying to maintain her professional demeanor, "the Empire's ships are showing signs of confusion. Their communication patterns have become erratic. Also, we've detected that several of their crew members have started sharing our memes internally." Smith nodded, satisfaction evident on his face. "How's Project Nostalgia progressing?" "Phase 1 is complete, sir. We've transmitted every viral video from the past 30 years. Phase 2 is ready. We're preparing to send them every single episode of Friends simultaneously, followed by a compilation of laugh tracks." The real genius of humanity's response wasn't just in the volume of content, it was in its infectious nature. The Empire's sophisticated AI systems, designed to analyze and understand enemy communications, were inadvertently becoming carriers of Earth's memetic warfare. The Empire waged war on humanity, and got the most absurd response ever. Part 3, The Infection. 3 days into what was now being called the Great Meme War, the Empire's situation had gone from bad to worse. General Reed stood before the Imperial Council, trying to explain how humanity's bizarre tactics had managed to create such chaos. "Our ship's AIs are compromised," he reported, his voice heavy with defeat. "They've started generating something called deep-fried memes. We don't even know what that means, but our junior officers can't stop laughing at them." The council chamber, normally a place of strict formality, was unusually distracted. One council member was quietly humming "Take on Me," while another had been caught watching fail compilations during official meetings. "What about the human military capabilities?" the head counselor asked, trying to redirect focus to traditional warfare concerns. Reed activated his datapad, only to be interrupted by a pop-up video of something called Charlie the Unicorn. He quickly closed it. "That's just it, Your Excellence. They haven't fired a single shot. Instead, they've somehow managed to create what they call reaction memes using images of our own leaders." Back on Earth, Admiral Smith was reviewing the latest success reports with his team. The Meme Warfare Command Center had evolved into a sophisticated operation, with different divisions dedicated to specific forms of digital warfare. The K-pop division reports total saturation of Imperial entertainment channels, a coordinator announced. And the cat video department has successfully convinced 3 Imperial worlds that cats must be gods, given how much humans worship them online. Smith nodded, examining the massive display showing their campaign's progress. "And Operation Nostalgia?" "Extremely effective, sir. We've intercepted Imperial communications showing that their crews are now debating whether Ross and Rachel were really on a break. But the true masterpiece of humanity's strategy was only just beginning to unfold. The Internet historians, a specialized team of digital archaeologists, had been digging deep into humanity's vast archive of online culture. "Sir," a young analyst called out, "we've just completed the compilation of every single Internet trend from the past 50 years. We're calling it the memetic bomb." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. They were about to unleash decades of planking, ice bucket challenges, Harlem Shakes, and every other viral trend that had ever swept across Earth's internet. "Do it," Smith ordered. "But add one more thing. Release the entire history of Wikipedia edit wars." Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Glory, General Reed was facing a new crisis. The Empire's most sophisticated battle AI had begun generating its own content. It had somehow combined thousands of cat videos with Imperial military doctrine to create something it called Battle Cat Strategy Guides. "Sir," his aide reported, "our soldiers are now rating military plans based on something called wholesome content. And they've started ending tactical messages with, 'Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.'" The situation in the broader empire was even more chaotic. Reports were coming in from various worlds of Imperial citizens creating their own versions of human memes. Someone had translated Doge speak into all 17 Imperial languages. Reed watched in horror as a notification appeared on his screen. The Empire's central military database had just been subscribed to something called Reddit. The accompanying message simply read, "Prepare for cursed comments." The most terrifying part wasn't the content itself, it was how quickly it spread, how easily it adapted to Imperial culture, and how impossible it was to stop. The Empire had vast experience dealing with biological and cyber warfare, but they had no defense against what humans called shitposting. In the Meme Warfare Command Center, Smith received an unexpected report. "Sir, we're detecting original meme creation from within Imperial space. They're starting to make their own content." Smith leaned back in his chair, a knowing smile on his face. The Empire had wanted to stop Earth's cultural pollution, but instead, they had become infected by it. Humanity hadn't just defended itself, it had turned the entire Empire into fellow shitposters. "Send them our archives of reaction GIFs," he ordered. It's time they learned about Keyboard Cat. The Empire waged war on humanity, and got the most absurd response ever. Part 4, The Evolution. 1 week into the conflict, the Empire's military structure was experiencing an unprecedented transformation. General Reed stood before his mirror, practicing what humans called a disappointed dad face. Apparently, it was more effective than traditional disciplinary measures. "Sir," his aide interrupted, trying not to snicker, "you need to see this. The Third Fleet, they've started a TikTok challenge." Reed rushed to the command center, where the main screen displayed hundreds of Imperial warriors performing synchronized dances in their battle armor. The worst part? They were actually good at it. "What happened to our fearsome military reputation?" Reed demanded, just as his personal AI assistant interrupted with a notification, "You've been tagged in a meme, General. It's about your reaction to the dance videos. It's already gone viral on Facebook." The Empire's attempt to maintain discipline was failing spectacularly. The very concept of going viral had infected their military protocols. Battle formations were now being rated on their aesthetic, and squadron leaders were being chosen based on their vibe. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Smith was dealing with an unexpected development of his own. The Meme Warfare Command Center had detected something new. The Empire was beginning to innovate. "Sir," Lieutenant Wilson reported, "they're not just copying our memes anymore. They've started creating their own formats. Look at this, they've turned their ancient battle hymns into something they're calling space shanties. And they're actually kind of catchy." Smith studied the data with growing interest. The Empire's warriors had taken sea shanties from Earth's TikTok trends and combined them with their own military traditions. The result was spreading faster than anyone had anticipated. How are our other initiatives progressing? Smith asked, tapping his desk thoughtfully. The Wikipedia war is in full swing, sir. We've got them arguing about the proper categorization of their own species. 3 subcommittees have been formed just to debate the Oxford comma in their native language. But the real surprise came from the Internet Archaeology Division. They had discovered that some imperial citizens had started archiving Earth's ancient memes, treating them like valuable historical artifacts. Pepe the Frog was being studied in their universities as a prime example of early human digital culture. Sir, another analyst called out, you won't believe this. The Empire's Youth Cultural Division has just declared Earth's early internet aesthetic to be totally based. They're trying to recreate GeoCities pages. In the depths of space, aboard the Eternal Glory, General Reed faced his greatest challenge yet. The ship's AI had become obsessed with something called shower thoughts, and was now interrupting tactical meetings with philosophical questions like, if the Empire conquers a planet but nobody posts about it, did it really happen? The Empire's sophisticated communication networks, once used primarily for military coordination and governmental control, had transformed into something else entirely. Entire channels were dedicated to sharing what humans called wholesome content, and the Empire's fearsome battle fleets now had their own streaming channels. General, his aide approached cautiously. The High Council is requesting an update on our war efforts, but they've specifically asked for it in meme format. They say traditional reports are cringe. Reed slumped in his command chair, watching as his once mighty military force devolved into what humans called a content creation hub. The latest reports showed that Imperial ships were now competing for something called clout, and several destroyer captains had become what humans termed influencers. Back on Earth, Admiral Smith received a peculiar transmission. The Empire's younger generation had started a petition to officially classify the war as a massive collab between species. They argued that traditional warfare was so last millennium, and that the future of interstellar relations should be built on shared meme culture. Sir, Lieutenant Wilson said, trying to maintain her composure, should we be concerned that we've actually made the Empire cooler? Smith chuckled, watching as another Imperial meme crossed his screen, this one featuring their fearsome warrior cast attempting to recreate classic Vine energy. No, Lieutenant, he replied. We've done something better than defeating them. We've made them relatable. The Empire waged war on humanity, and got the most absurd response ever. Part 5, The Revolution. 2 weeks into what was now being called the Great Cultural Exchange, nobody used the term war anymore. It was deemed not very poggers. The Empire's society had undergone a dramatic transformation that nobody could have predicted. General Reed sat in his quarters, staring at his reflection in a blank screen. He had just finished recording his first storytime video about the failed invasion, and to his horror, it had gone viral across 17 star systems. The comments were filled with supportive messages calling him Space Dad. General, his AI assistant chimed, your latest post has reached 1 million likes. Also, 3 meme historians from Earth want to interview you about becoming an accidental icon of intergalactic understanding. Reed buried his face in his hands. What about our military objectives? Well, sir, the Third Fleet has successfully established diplomatic relations through something called a Minecraft server. They're currently building a replica of the Imperial Palace using blocks, and it's actually quite impressive. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Smith was dealing with an unprecedented situation. The Meme Warfare Command Center had evolved into the Institute of Intergalactic Cultural Exchange, and their latest reports were fascinating. Sir, Lieutenant Wilson announced, the Empire's youth have started a movement. They're calling it Retro Earth Core. They're wearing 21st century Earth fashion, using old Earth slang, and, sir, they're trying to bring back MySpace. Smith raised an eyebrow. MySpace? Even we didn't want to bring that back. That's not all, she continued. Their educational institutions have started offering courses in human internet history. They're analyzing early YouTube videos like their classical literature. Someone wrote a thesis on the deeper meaning of chocolate rain. The situation had evolved far beyond anyone's expectations. The empire's rigid social hierarchy was crumbling under the weight of what they called extremely based Earth vibes. Imperial citizens were now ending formal documents with "Thank you for coming to my TED Talk" and rating government proposals with "Big Mood" or "Low-Key SUS." "Admiral," another officer called out, "you need to see this. The Empire's Supreme Council, they've started a podcast." Smith watched in amazement as the most powerful beings in the Empire sat around microphones, discussing their favorite Earth memes and doing dramatic readings of copypasta. Their latest episode, titled "Why Human Culture Hits Different," had broken streaming records across 3 galaxies. The Empire waged war on humanity, and got the most absurd response ever. Part 6, The Resolution. 3 weeks into what historians would later call the Great Vibe Check, the Imperial High Council called an emergency session. The meeting, naturally, was live-streamed across all platforms with chat enabled. General Reed stood before the council, his once pristine uniform now adorned with what humans called pins and flair, including one that said "World's Okayest Invasion Commander" given to him by his own troops. "Honorable Council," he began, before being interrupted by a flood of emotes in the chat. "We need to address the complete transformation of our society. Our military effectiveness has been compromised. Ratio plus L plus no fleet plus touch grass," someone in the council chamber muttered, drawing suppressed laughter from the younger council members. The head counselor, wearing what appeared to be a cat ear headset, for the aesthetic, cleared their throat. "General Reed, your concerns are valid, but have you considered that this might be, as the humans say, a W?" Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Smith was reviewing the latest developments with his team. The Institute of Intergalactic Cultural Exchange had produced a comprehensive report on the Empire's transformation. "Sir," Lieutenant Wilson reported, "the Empire's traditional military structure has been completely replaced by what they're calling vibe-based command. Unit cohesion is now measured in squad energy, and battle plans are rated on their drip." Smith nodded, scanning through the data on his tablet. The Empire's fearsome warships, once symbols of military might, had been transformed. The Eternal Glory, their flagship, had been renamed to Meme Queen Supreme after winning an online poll. "But here's the most interesting part," Wilson continued. "Their society is actually becoming more efficient. Their new communication methods, while seemingly chaotic, have broken down traditional barriers. Different species within the Empire are connecting through shared appreciation of Earth's digital culture." The evidence was undeniable. The Empire's productivity had increased by 300% since they started taking creative breaks to watch cat videos. Their diplomatic relations had improved now that all negotiations began with sharing favorite memes. Even their technology had advanced as they tried to create better ways to share and create content. Back in Imperial space, General Reed was watching the final transformation of his military force. The once rigid chain of command had been replaced by what they called collaborative content creation hierarchy. Battle stations were now streaming stations, and weapon systems had been modified to display GIF reactions. "Sir," his aide reported, trying not to laugh, "the entire 7th Fleet has changed their official communication format to interpretive TikTok dances." Reed sighed, but couldn't help smiling. His own children had started calling him Based Space Dad, and had convinced him to start a family vlog channel. It had somehow become the Empire's highest-rated entertainment stream. The Empire's declaration of war, meant to stop Earth's cultural influence, had instead accelerated it beyond anyone's wildest expectations. But something unexpected had happened along the way. The Empire's culture had influenced Earth as well. "Admiral," Wilson said, showing Smith the latest trends, "humans have started adopting Imperial aesthetics. They're combining our meme formats with imperial art styles. There's a whole movement called Space Core trending on Earth's social media. Smith watched as humans and aliens collaborated on what they called crossover content, creating a new form of cultural expression that was neither purely human nor purely imperial, but something entirely unique. In the council chamber, the final decision was approaching. The head counselor stood, their cat ear headset twinkling under the chamber's lights. After careful consideration, and several very convincing TikTok presentations, they announced, "The Empire hereby declares this war, absolutely poggers. Instead of conflict, we propose a formal alliance based on shared meme culture and collaborative content creation." The chamber erupted in cheers, emotes flooded the chat, and someone started playing "Never Gonna Give You Up," which had somehow become the unofficial anthem of human-imperial relations. General Reed, watching from his command center, realized that in losing this war, the Empire had gained something far more valuable. They had found their vibe. 1 year after the war that never really was, Admiral Smith stood at a podium in the newly constructed Intergalactic Cultural Center, preparing to give a speech at the first annual Meme Con Galaxy. The audience was a mix of humans and various imperial species, all wearing convention badges with their social media handles. General Reed sat in the front row, now serving as the Empire's first Minister of Vibe and Cultural Exchange. His signature, disappointed dad face, had become so iconic that it was now the standard reaction emoji across 17 star systems. When the Empire declared war on Earth for our cultural pollution, Smith began, causing knowing chuckles throughout the audience. None of us could have predicted where it would lead. Today, we're not just at peace, we're creating a new cultural renaissance across the galaxy. The evidence was everywhere. The former Imperial battle fleets had been repurposed into what they called content creation vessels, spreading across the galaxy to document and share the unique cultures of different worlds. The Eternal Glory, once the Empire's most fearsome warship, was now a floating studio and streaming hub. Sir, Lieutenant Wilson, now Director of Intergalactic Trends, whispered from beside the podium, "The live stream numbers are breaking records. We're trending on every platform in both human and imperial space." The transformation had gone far beyond mere memes. The Empire's rigid social structures had evolved into what they called a based meritocracy, where influence was measured not by military might but by creative contribution to society. Their former war council was now the Vibe Check Committee, ensuring harmony through shared cultural appreciation. "Our cultures didn't just merge," Smith continued, gesturing to the massive screens showing viral content from across the galaxy. "They evolved. We created something entirely new." He wasn't exaggerating. The year had seen the rise of entirely new art forms, imperial battle poetry remixed with human rap battles, classical Earth memes reinterpreted through imperial artistic traditions, and something called quantum TikTok that somehow existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. In the audience, young humans and imperial citizens sat together, sharing screens and creating content in real time. The language they spoke was a fascinating mix of Earth internet slang and imperial formal speech, peppered with references from both cultures. "Remember," Reed added, taking the stage to thunderous applause, "it all started because someone thought our cat videos were a threat to galactic civilization." The audience roared with laughter. In the back of the hall, a group of imperial scholars were earnestly explaining to human historians why Keyboard Cat should be considered one of the most important diplomatic documents in history. The former war had become a case study in unexpected outcomes. Military academies now taught it as the Great Ratio, how humanity had turned digital culture into the ultimate defense strategy. The Empire's original declaration of war was preserved in a museum, surrounded by screens playing an endless loop of memes it had inspired. But perhaps the most important thing we learned, Smith concluded, was that the very things the Empire feared. Our creativity, our humor, our ability to find joy in the absurd, were exactly what the galaxy needed. The lights dimmed, and on the massive screens, a special presentation began, a compilation of the year's best moments in human imperial cultural exchange. There were imperial cooking shows attempting to recreate Earth memes in food form, human imperial collaborative art projects, and countless clips of various species attempting to explain their own versions of "that's what she said" jokes. As the presentation ended, Smith and Reed stood together, watching the mixed crowd of humans and aliens sharing jokes, creating content, and building connections that would have seemed impossible a year ago. "You know," Reed said, adjusting his now famous, world's okayest invasion commander, pin, "when I was ordered to wage war on Earth, I expected many outcomes. Becoming a galactic content creator was not one of them." Smith smiled. "Sometimes the best victories aren't won through force. Sometimes they're won through forceful application of cat videos and dad jokes." The Empire had wanted to stop Earth's cultural influence from spreading. Instead, they had become part of the greatest collab in galactic history. As the convention center buzzed with the energy of countless species sharing and creating together, one thing was clear: the future of the galaxy would be shaped not by wars or weapons, but by the simple, profound power of shared laughter and creativity. And somewhere, in the vast depths of space, a new transmission was beginning its journey to the stars, carrying with it the best and weirdest that human and imperial culture had to offer, ready to inspire whoever might be listening.